Here's another for loop. This for loop has a range for I, and basically we're accumulating a sum of the values given by the range in I. So I could go ahead and run this script. Right? And so what I get is just this final sum, right? And so it should be 4, right? Here's my range. So 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10, right? But if I just got the answer at the end and maybe it wasn't what I was expecting, I would want to figure out what was going on inside each iteration of my loop. And there are a couple different ways to do this. If you already have the loop in MATLAB, a really easy way to trace through the loop is to just add some fprintf statements that are only there for debugging, that you might take out before you turn in or use your code in some other setting. Okay? The whole point of the fprintf statements that we're going to print in now is just to give us more information about what goes on in our loop so we can help track down a potential problem. So I'm going to go into my loop, right? And I'm going to look at the variables that are controlled in my loop. I have this loop control variable, right? The one that's going to take on the values in my range. And I also have this sum variable. So these are the two variables that are going to change on every iteration through my loop. So to trace through the loop, I want to look at what happens to the values of these variables, the one that my loop is changing. So I can go ahead and I can put in some fprintf statements. Looking at the value of I, like here, and also the value of sum. So now, if I run this code again, and save it, and then come down and run my script, okay, I can see that I get all this output that's going to help me trace through exactly what's happening on every iteration of my loop. So particularly if I'm getting behavior that I didn't expect or that's somehow surprising from my loop, just looking at the end result, doing this, adding these debugging statements, right, helps me kind of see what's happening on each iteration. So here I see that on the first one I equals 4 and the sum equals 4. Then on the next iteration I equals 6 and the sum is 10, which is 4 plus 6. Right? On the next iteration I equals 8 and the sum is 18. Which is 10 plus 8, the sum from the previous step. So here I can see how I'm getting to that final sum is equal to 28. If I'm happy now with my loop, I might want to go back and just comment out these printfs, right, and continue on with my code. And then when I get to the end and I'm all done debugging all the different parts of my program, I can probably go ahead and take these printf statements out before I turn in my code or I use it as part of a larger program. But adding debugging outputs to help you trace is a really good debugging tool, especially when you're first learning how the different kinds of loops work.